or an Office Max. Kind of reminds me of her boss, Joe, who said, well, studies show that black entrepreneurs are just as competent as white entrepreneurs. They just don't have access to lawyers and to accountants. Gavin Newsom's recall election is set for September 14. More on that later on in the program. What's this? New polling show Democrats are about as alarmed as crime as Republicans. According to the Wall Street Journal, higher inflation is here to stay, very likely for years. Too bad they didn't listen to Professor Ohanian and me. Thousands of Cubans have taken to the streets to demonstrate against the communist regime. I've told you before that sometimes these revolutions happen when you don't even know it. I remember years ago, there was an article in a publication called The New Republic called The Shah's Well-Run Kingdom, about the Shah of Iran and how the Shah of Iran was on top of his country, had everything all set, security all tight. Within months, he had fallen. Sometimes it just takes something, and when people are no longer afraid of the regime, when they're no longer afraid of the government, just like that, it could go. New poll shows that Americans believe big tech could, in fact, ruin U.S. elections. Only 10% believe that they don't. As you know, President Trump has filed a class action lawsuit against big tech. Project Veritas has filed a lawsuit also against Twitter. Are we having fun yet? 888-971-SAGE. 888-971-SAGE. 888-971-7243. May I read you a letter before we get started? This is from Angel Mom Agnes Gibney, whose son was murdered by an illegal alien. Dear Mr. Elder, I am beyond thrilled to hear of your possibility of announcing candidacy for the governor of California. As I have noticed, so many candidates throw their hat in the ring, but no one is as qualified as you are. You get the issues that plague California: homelessness, high taxes, low education standards, especially in low-income areas, not to mention the rise in crime. As the mother of a murdered victim, I live in fear of losing another child to crime, not only to illegal alien crimes, but the decision to release violent criminals back into society will create more victims. So, I wanted to take this opportunity to congratulate you. You have my blessings. You have my support. May God bless you. Again, signed by Angel Mom Agnes Gibney. At the end of the show today, circa 5:45 p.m., I'm going to make an announcement, so please stick around for that. Now, I want to start off the show with this. Matt Damon, the A-list actor, is making a movie. The movie is about an oil rigger. And in order for him to understand this man who is an oil worker, who is a Trump supporter, he thought he would hang out with Trump people to understand how they are. And so he did. And you know what he found out? Quote, they don't apologize for who they are, but they were still wonderful to us. Being invited into their homes, into backyard barbecue, a guitar comes out and they started singing church songs. It's a very specific place and very different to where I grew up. He also said it was really eye-opening for me. Now, this is a 50-year-old man, Matt Damon. Clueless. His butt has been stuck in the Hollywood left-wing woke mitt for so long. He had to find Trump supporters and actually spend time with them to find out, they're not bad people at all. They treated us well. They're religious and they don't apologize for that. Quote, they all have goatees, the sunglasses. They're not six-pack ab guys, but they're strong. You go to their barbecues, and a guitar comes out, and they start singing church songs. They don't apologize for who they are. Why should they have to? Quote, we were invited into the break rooms and backyard barbecues of the real men who inspired the character that I'm playing. They're in the oil business. Of course, he voted for Trump. But these people were wonderful to us. They really helped us. It was eye-opening. How condescending. And these are people who help shape the culture of America, part of the axis of indoctrination, Hollywood, academia, media. And this guy, he decided he would hang out with oil rig workers and find out, what makes them tick. And he found out they were good people. I just didn't even. You know what this reminds me of? Reminds me of the former CEO of NPR, Ken Stern, who decided that he would spend a whole year trying to live like a Republican. He traveled around the country. He got out of my little bubble, close quote. I went to NASCAR, a gathering of evangelical youths, and he found out that they were good people, and they were religious people, and they were friendly people, and they were hardworking people who embraced their family, embraced the flag. It was eye-opening, he said, and he wrote an article in the New York Post and found that liberals in the media outnumber conservatives 5-1, himself included. And he said it contributes to groupthink. Quote, virtually everyone in the mainstream media is on one side of the political landscape and not the other. Well, duh. What the hell you think we've been talking about for years? And he's now written a book about his transition from a hard lefty to a more thoughtful Republican. This is just unbelievable. 74 million people voted for Donald Trump. And Matt Damon found out by living with Trump supporters that they really weren't bad people. And after all, I was wrong. What do you think they were? Martians? From the planet Vulcan? And just like the former CEO of NPR, an organization that ought not still exist, at least not with our taxpayer money, he too found out that Trump supporters were not bad people. They didn't club baby seals. They didn't eat their young. They actually embraced the values of hard work and they were patriots. And I'm so surprised. It was eye-opening. How insulting. How condescending. There's an article called Clueless Hollywood Actor Discovers Trump Supporters Are Real People. We have it up on LarryElder.com. We also have the article about former NPR CEO Ken Stern. What a lifelong Democrat learned from a year trying to, quote, live like a Republican. What does that even mean, live like a Republican? How condescending. 888-971-SAGE. They're not bad people at all. Republicans they're practically normal. I had no idea. When we come back, President Trump is suing the big tech platforms, and Alan Dershowitz says this is a major First Amendment case. All of that and more. And thousands of Cubans take to the street to protest the Cuban communist country. I'm Larry Elder.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
We've had 6 months of the new administration. It is the farthest thing from moderation that the government has ever seen, and it is the fastest track to extremism that we've ever had elected.
But Kevin, how did I know that in advance? Why in my debate with David French did I know this and you knew this? There was no question in my mind. So the fact that this has now happened, part of me wants to say, ha ha, but it's just too sad to say, ha. This is something that I warned against, and you warned against, and others warned against, because we knew that the consequences are devastating.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
I had studied Marxist history, beginning with Marx and Engels' Communist Manifesto from 1848. And when I first studied that and saw in section 1 of the manifesto what you can recognize as what's called the oppressor versus oppressed narrative of human history, a whole bunch of stuff that was taking place in our country began to become exceptionally clear to me. And I began to piece together a lot of the what I'll call militant impulse that was manifesting in society as time went on. And there's a victimhood ideology. There's constantly an effort by some individuals who have an agenda to pit groups of people against one another as victims or oppressed groups and oppressor groups. And we've seen very clearly over the past calendar year who the oppressor group is labeled to be and who the oppressed groups are labeled to be. And right now, under the auspices of diversity and inclusion training, as well as critical race theory and other narratives of American history that have been parading about throughout the country and showing up in our education system, all of those narratives seek to divide the American people by pitting people against one another into racial groups.
Yeah, it's
the white versus the black. It
used to be class, division by class. Now it's division by race, by skin color. We've only begun to scratch the surface. We're going to go deep dive on what's happening inside the U.S. military and why this man took the courageous step of writing the book Irresistible Revolution. Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lohmeyer.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Some lawyer hit a little girl.
Former cancer patient Sharon Blackwell was struck by an oncoming vehicle.
Take this into evidence, sir.
I need to call my wife.
You've been accused of texting while driving.
Before you take your daughter off life support, give God room to be God.
You're not guaranteed another day, but you have today.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Charlie Kirk Show.
And so, Don, a question I get a lot, and where people are emailing us, freedom@charliekirk.com right now, is how is your family holding up in the midst of this? How is your father holding up? I mean, after delivering results for our country, doing everything he said he was going to do, people kind of take me aside. They say, hey, how are they hanging?
Hello, Larry Elder, and I do like the way it sounds, Governor Elder. This is Pete from SoCal. Just wanted to give you a quick call, say thank you for all that you're doing. We appreciate it, not only here in Southern California, of course, but across the country. Just a quick note, you have a statistic that you talk about regarding the gun safety and how guns, just brandishing them, saves people's lives. Totally in agreement. The one part of that I think maybe should be added to that statistic is police officers use them every day, not only to save their own lives, but of course they're in the public sector to serve and protect. Well, they're saving other people's lives every day when they brandish a firearm. Keep up the awesome work. And again, Governor Elder does have a great ring to it. Over and out. Talk to you soon.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Again, I have an announcement to make approximately 5:45 p.m. Pacific time, so stick around for that. I'm going to have a comment about what the gentleman just now said about guns in just a second. Mr. McConnell, make sure I don't forget. Now it's official. President Biden has declared war on the small business owners of America. It's one of the reasons I'm considering running for governor here in California, because the governor of California has done the same thing by clamping down on small businesses while keeping his own open. Now, in the first 100 days of the Biden administration, Biden has pushed for a massive tax increase on small businesses. His $2 trillion so-called infrastructure plan is actually a $2 trillion tax hike on the American employers. He also wants to make it harder and harder for small business owners to keep their doors open by pushing a $15 minimum wage, a 100% increase over the current federal. And his new Green Deal will drive up energy prices on small business owners as well. One group working really hard to fight these attacks, the great people at Job Creators Network, and looking for a few good men and women to join their small business advocacy and advisor program. They'll train you up, help with op-eds in your local papers and TV appearances on your local news stations. In short, their crackerjack team will prepare you to be a leader and fighter for small businesses in your community, your state, and the country you love. If you own a business and want to join the fight, go to joinjcn.com right now and learn more. They're looking for a few good men and women to join their growing army of small business leaders and advocates. So please go to joinjcn.com right now. That's joinjcn as in Nancy. Joinjcn.com right now. They need you. America needs you. Regarding the comment the gentleman made about firearms, I am now having a lot of interviews because people are wondering whether or not I might run for governor. And I had an interview with a very, very prominent journalist here in California. And we're talking about a number of issues. And he asked me about water. He asked me about homelessness. He asked me about cost of living. He asked me why, if I get into this race, I'm going to do it. I talked to him about the draconian mandates that were placed upon business owners and individuals, and how the governor ignored the science. The science said kids could safely go back to in-school learning, but because he was beholden to the teachers union, he followed their dictates and kept schools shut down. By the way, he's still saying you have to wear a mask when you go back to school in the fall. So we talked about all of that, and then he said, guns. I said, what about it? He said, how do you feel about the issue of gun control? And I said, well, I support the decision that was recently handed down by a federal judge that found the so-called decades-long assault weapons ban here in California a violation of the Second Amendment. And I said, when you look at all of the people who are killed with guns, about 30,000 every year, half of those are suicides. And you have to compare that to the number of people who are alive because they were able to get a firearm and brandish it, break off an attack. I mentioned that there is a criminologist named Gary Kleck in Florida who says every year around 1.25 million Americans use guns to defend themselves, and about 40% of that number believe but for the firearm they would have incurred a serious bodily injury, if not death. And then he said, yeah, but a lot of people kill themselves accidentally with firearms. I said, no, they don't. I said, the number is tiny. It's fractional. It's a small number. You didn't ask me how many Americans are alive. I said, why is it journalists do that? And I didn't go off on him because I didn't want to get a negative review, a negative article. But I think that's probably the first time in his career, and he's been around for a long time, anybody ever said that. What is this? Well, what do you feel about guns? Well, a lot of people also kill themselves accidentally. Really? How many? How often? I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's rare. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Speaking of crime, Chicago weekend, 40 people shot, 11 killed, including a rapper ambushed after he just got released from jail. His name is rapper KTS Dre. Mr. McConnell, do you know rapper KTS Dre? McConnell knows all these rappers. 40 people shot, including 11 fatally. Police said the 38-year-old rapper, whose real name is Londre Sylvester, had just been released on electronic monitoring when he was fatally shot across the street from the Cook County Jail around 8:50 p.m. on Saturday. in what authorities believe to be a targeted attack. No kidding. Sylvester was left suffering from as many as 64 bullet wounds to his head and other parts of the body, according to the Chicago Tribune. He was better off in jail. And then a bunch of suspects, undisclosed number, jumped into separate vehicles and fled in different directions. A 60-year-old woman who was walking with him at the time was shot in the knee, listed in good condition. A 30-year-old woman walking on the street when the shots rang out suffered a graze wound to the chin and is listed in good condition. Now, the rapper who was killed was arrested back on April 27 on charges of being a felon in possession of a weapon and resisting police. He's now dead. Now, the mayor of Chicago, I don't know whether she is now attributing this to just hysterical headlines as AOC did, or, you know, it's just...
We are seeing these headlines about percentage increases. Now, I want to say that any amount of harm is unacceptable and too much. But I also want to make sure that this hysteria, you know, that this doesn't drive a hysteria and that we look at these numbers in context.
Look at these numbers in context. How insulting. We come back. Coordinated crime sprees in California and New York are forcing retailers to close their stores and to limit operating hours. All of that and more. Basically, here in California, if you steal less than $950, you get a ticket. It's a misdemeanor. And you can do that every day. You can steal that much every single day, and some crooks are doing just that. All of that and more. 888-971 SAGE 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. Do not leave town. Great.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Fiance? No, I can't be your fiance.
You're gonna go. You're gonna be my fiance, and you're gonna be the most amazing, fascinating, most successful man ever. We're only gonna be there for a few hours, eat dinner, and I promise we'll have the best breakup of all time.
My baby, my princess. Oh, booyah!
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Charlie Kirk Show.
And this is the destruction of a fair and independent judiciary. And this is using ultimate power to try to destroy political opponents.
100%, Charlie. And it's not like this is the only example. I mean, listen, if you've been watching for the last 5 years, look at the FBI. Look at what they were doing. Nothing happens. They can lie before Congress. They can go and do a witch hunt. They can all know that it's BS. They can all get on TV and act as political pundits and talk about things in a way that they know to not be correct. You saw that, right? They testified before Congress. No, there was nothing there. But on TV every night, they pretended as though Russia was a real thing.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Joe Biden was sold as a moderate. People that had worked with Joe Biden back in the day said, "Oh, I've known Joe for years. He's okay. He's fine."
Listen, when he got the hair plugs, he flipped. A long time ago, he was bald as an egg, and he got hair plugs. And I believe those hair plugs were from a Chinese lab in the Wuhan province, and things started to go screwy, and he flipped.
So he said. I don't know that that's true. I think he hid maybe who he was for a long time. A lot of liberals did in the 70s.
Wait. First of all, he's nobody. He has no values. Let's not kid ourselves. He's not a Marxist. He is a husk of a person, and he will just do. That's the whole point of your article at townhall.com. People are running him and steering him, and he doesn't have the whisper of what we would call courage or conviction.
Right. Well, and because he can't get the stuff kicked out fast enough. I mean, they've attacked so many different areas of culture and life all at once, and I think this is part of the blowback that is causing parental communities to rise up. You know, one of the things I'm most excited about, to be candid, out of all this, is to see the growth of middle-class Black parents debating CRT to their own school boards. There's something very powerful about a father and a mother, married Black couple, living in a suburb and being part of a community and saying to a school board, what you're in essence trying to do is teach my child to be a racist.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Things just happened.
My girlfriend and my best friend.
You got 30 days to grow up, son.
Nathan Hannigan, it is good to have you home.
Nona, it's Nathan.
Well, you don't mind my giving her your room, do you?
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store.
Hi, Larry. Don in Arizona. Could you imagine all the woke heads exploding if their Wonder Boy Gavin Newsom of the Pelosi dynasty was replaced with a Black conservative, Larry Elder? I mean, they would go nuts. I think the racist Democrat Party would just lose their minds. They might even be crazier about that than having a orange guy in the Oval Office. And I think California needs you, Larry. I think you're just what they need to fix that state. So I think you should run. I think you'd do great listening to your show with all the solutions to real problems that you discuss on your show. And I think the left would lose their minds. And if that happens, you know you're doing the right thing. So run, Larry, run. And good luck.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Speaking of the woke exploding, as I mentioned, I've been having a number of interviews, and one of them was with one of the major wire services, and I knew this was going to happen. And he and at least two of the other people I spoke to said, "What about the Trump factor? What about Trump? I understand that you enthusiastically supported Trump. Trump's not particularly popular out here in California. How's that going to?" And I said, first of all, if I run, Gavin Newsom will not be running against Trump. He'll be running against Larry Elder. I'm my own man. I said, second, I'm a Republican. Of course I supported him in 2020. I haven't supported a Democrat since I voted for Jimmy Carter, and I regret that. I voted for him because he pardoned Gerald Ford, and I was young and naive, and I felt that was wrong. I no longer feel that way. Of course I supported him. And I'll support the nominee, whoever he or she is, in 2024. But I want to ask you something. Did you ever ask Gavin Newsom, is he embarrassed about his support for Hillary? Well, why would I ask him that? I said, for 4 years, Hillary has been calling Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, illegitimate, her word, not mine. And I said, you know what I'm going to say. You've heard me say this many times. I just want you to know I said it today and how I said it. And I said she also referred to the election as quote-unquote stolen, to the point where 66% of Democrats, according to a YouGov poll I told this guy, believe that Hillary, that the Russians literally changed vote tallies, even though the Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson testified under oath that despite the fact that the Russians tried, they failed to change a single vote tally. Yet because of Hillary's constant assertion that Donald Trump stole the election and that Donald Trump was illegitimately elected, 2/3 of Democrats falsely believe that the Russians literally reached in and manipulated software and changed the vote tallies to put this man in office. And I said, Chris Cillizza, who is the political editor of CNN, wrote a scathing piece about how Donald Trump had duped his supporters, 76% of whom believed that in 2020 there was, quote, widespread voter fraud, close quote. I said, guess what? According to the Gallup poll, 78% of Democrats believe that the Russian interference, quote, changed the outcome of the election, close quote, even though the 1,000-page Senate report said we can't determine one way or the other whether or not the Russians changed the outcome of the election. But 78% of Democrats either believe they did or it is likely that they did. I said, so who do you think has more undermined confidence in our elections? Furthermore, Hillary, in fact, never used the C word concede any more than Trump used the C word concede. They both said that they lost the election ultimately. Hillary supporters took to the streets for several days after the election, clashed with the police, violent protests, some of them. And on the inauguration day, 200 of Hillary supporters were arrested. Violent protests. Whom do you know had violent protests on his inauguration day? And I said, to my knowledge, while Donald Trump was a so-called birther, although Hillary started it, I don't recall him ever referring to Barack Obama as having, quote unquote, stolen the election. I don't recall him ever calling Barack Obama, quote, illegitimate, close quote. Yet Hillary did that time and time again during the entirety of Trump's presidency, yet the social media platforms never shut her down, and nobody sticks a mic in the Democrats' face and say, what do you think about Hillary undermining the confidence of our election? You know what he said? He said, well, it's because Hillary didn't get elected. I said, oh, I see. So the former Secretary of State referring to an election as stolen, not a problem. Former First Lady, not a problem. Two-time elected senator from New York, not a problem. But because Donald Trump got elected, it's a problem. I said, that is outrageous. It is unfair. It is a double standard, and you ought to think about that. And he went, well, as you see, I did. As you see. Yeah. Really? No wonder the left hates Donald Trump's guts. Not only do they feel that he is vulgar, they also feel the Russians literally put him there. Now, are you suffering from back, neck, shoulder, hip, foot pain from exercise or just getting older? If that sounds like you, I suggest you order the 3-week Relief Factor Quick Start. Still discounted to only $19.95. That is less than $1 a day to see if it will get you out of pain. And then after that, less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day for you to stay out of pain. Over 70% of those who order the 3-week Quick Start go on to order more. Give your body what it needs to heal itself. ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com. Or call 800-500-8384. That's 800-500-8384.
Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Men and women died in Vietnam or the other wars that we fought for our flag.
Hey, what a great call. What a great point that is. To disrespect those men who spilled blood, who left their limbs on the battlefield the way the left is doing. Chris, you're on The Mike Gallagher Show. How you doing, Chris?
Good, Mike. It's a nice honor to talk to you finally.
Oh, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Honor to speak to you as well.
Mike, I'll make this real quick. I'm probably not all that great at talking on air, but all I am is a lifeguard on the ocean front in southeast North Carolina.
Right.
And I just want to say that, this weekend we had outstanding weather. The crowds were fantastic. Everyone was just well behaved.
Wow.
And Mike, I was on my tower and I was looking north, and I saw the thousands and thousands of people with their umbrellas, thousands of people in the water just enjoying. The kids were playing. The kids were running around, and happy cries and screams were going on. Mike, in my binoculars, you got to picture this. You got the city line and the beach and the ocean. But in my binoculars, I saw all of this going on, and then in the center was the American flag waving, and Mike, it just brought me to tears sitting in my tower watching this and just thinking about all the people who disrespect our flag, and like your last caller, all the men who died for this country. It just brought me to tears sitting on the tower watching all this going on.
And you know what? You got to keep reminding yourself, millions and millions of Americans feel just the way you and I do. Chris, we're not alone. We're not in the minority.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Get back or I'll shoot you.
Only one's left inside for the pastor and his 2 daughters.
And if you run, I'll shoot your family. Nobody cares whether I live or die. It's bad.
I'm not going to stand around and be a part of it anymore. Give me the gun.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
Surprise.
Sharon and I.
Sharon and you what?
Things just happened.
My girlfriend and my best friend.
You got 30 days to grow up, son.
Nathan Hanning, it is good to have you home.
Nona, it's Nathan.
Well, you don't mind my giving her your room, do you?
Larry, hi. This is James from Arleta, California. And what I wanted to say to you is I'm so glad you're going to run for governor. You're able to articulate the problems of the state, and you have definite ways to improve them. I'm looking forward to you to be governor. I'll definitely vote for you. Thanks, Larry.
Hi, Larry. This is Shine. After hearing the litany of items that our present governor has left undone, please run. We need somebody who will steer the right course. California is not the way it was when I was a little girl. It worked. It functioned. It was a great state to grow up in. Love you. Take care. Hope you run and win. I'm backing you.
Hi, I just heard that you're thinking about running for governor. Yay, yay, yay. My whole family supports you. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Again, I'm going to have an announcement to make around 5:45 p.m. Pacific time this evening. Desiree is in Texas. Desiree, you're on the Larry Elder Show. Thank you so much for calling.
Hi, Larry. Before I ask my question, I just want to tell you that I love you so much. You were like my intellectual hero. I learned so much from listening to you, and I just really appreciate what you do.
Desiree, thank you so much for that. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that, how much it motivates me, how much it makes me feel that all of this hard work is worth it. It really does, Desiree. Thank you so much.
So first off, I know that you're considering it, and I know you have an announcement to make later today as to whether or not you're running. But if you are running, I'm going to give you a congratulations. I want to be the first to congratulate you.
Uh-oh, what happened? She got cut off.
Oh, hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm sorry. My Bluetooth messed up in my truck. I'm sorry.
Desiree, I think that was Gavin Newsom.
Oh, must have been.
Yeah.
So I want to be the first to congratulate you because I know if you run, you're going to win. But I don't live in your state, and I would love to support you in this endeavor if this is something that you decide to do. So what can people, all of your listeners do to support you that don't live in your state? What can we do to help?
Well, Desiree, thank you from what you're asking. At 5:45, when I make my announcement, I will, assuming I decide to run for governor, assuming I make that announcement, assuming there's a website that's been set up, so assuming the website, you can go there and make donations, I'll probably announce what that website is. Assuming, of course, I run at 5:45 p.m. Pacific time. All right, Desiree, thank you so much for calling. I really do appreciate it. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Get this. A senior official at the San Francisco DA's office drew parallels between the public's concern over the crime surge and white supremacy. Her name is Kate Chatfield. She's senior director in the DA's office of Chesa Bowden's office. By the way, there's a recall election, a recall petition drive for Chesa Bowden, as there is a recall petition drive for the DA here in L.A., named George Gascon, both of whom received a great deal of money from George Soros. Anyway, a senior director in Chesa Bowden's office wrote a tweet in an attempt to dismiss the ongoing crime spike in that city. Someone tweeted, and she responded to this tweet. Here's what was tweeted that prompted her response. Quote, "Every single one of my friends right now is considering leaving San Francisco. My friends are scared for their children, and their husbands are scared for their wives." End of quote. Here is what Kate Chatfield, senior director, DA's office, San Francisco, wrote in response to that tweet. Quote, "Husbands are scared of their wives. Your reminder that the crime surge crowd shares the same ideology as Birth of a Nation." Close quote. For those of you unfamiliar with Birth of a Nation, it was a racist movie. It was a cinematography tour de force, state-of-the-art movie. It was kind of the Avatar of its name, the Star Wars of its day. But it was racist. It was all about the rise of the Klan and how the Klan was rising to protect white women from these dastardly black men who were out trying to rape and molest them. 1915, it was shown in the White House, the first movie ever shown in the White House by then President Woodrow Wilson, who was even a racist by the terms of the day. He resegregated hiring in the government, and again became the first president ever to show a movie in the White House. And there was this offensive racist movie called Birth of the Nation that he showed. "Husbands are scared for the wives," she wrote. "Your reminder that the crime surge crowd shares the same ideology as Birth of a Nation." So here they are once again dismissing this rise in crime.
We are seeing these headlines about percentage increases. Now, I want to say that any amount of harm is unacceptable and too much. But I also want to make sure that this hysteria, that this doesn't drive a hysteria, and that we look at these numbers in context so that we can make responsible decisions about what to allocate in that context.
Fox News headline, quote, "Coordinated crime sprees forcing retailers to close stores, limit hours." California raised the threshold for felony from $450 to over $950 in stolen goods. And again, this is every single day. 5 Target stores locations in San Francisco are reducing their hours, closing at 6 p.m. instead of the usual 10 p.m. as managers are trying to secure merchandise and to make sure that their employees are safe. Organized gangs, according to Forbes, brazenly steal branded items even with security present because of this referendum that taxpayers voted on. They were deluded, they were misled, and they thought that by limiting the amount of money and making it a misdemeanor, that these people would then be getting drug treatment for their problems, because many of them were stealing in order to support their drug treatment. But if you don't have the threat of going to jail, as Sheriff Alex Villanueva explained to us, I believe it was on Friday, what incentive is there for them to go into rehab? So they're not. They're just stealing and stealing and stealing and not going to rehab. Outrageous. More on crime going up when I come back. Now, the secret is out. People are abandoning their overpriced wireless carriers and flocking over to Pure Talk for the same coverage, but at a fraction of the price. If you're with Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, switching to Pure Talk could save your family over $800 a year. And switching is easy. You can keep your phone, keep your number, or get huge discounts on the latest iPhones and Androids. I got a new iPhone SE, and the service is amazing. Plus, right now, get unlimited talk, text, and 6 gigs of data, all for just $30 a month. And if you go over data, they do not charge you for it. There's a reason Pure Talk is the highest rated wireless company by Consumer Affairs, why they're the preferred wireless partner of AMAC. Friends, it is time to start saving money. So, from your cell phone, dial pound 250 and say Larry Elder, and save an additional $50 off your first month. That's pound 250, say Larry Elder, pound 250, and say Larry Elder.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Two things are happening. One is that parents across the board are starting to speak up and not take this anymore. You've seen in Loudoun, Virginia, on the critical race theory issue just the last couple of weeks, school board meetings where parents have lined up by the hundreds. They are unloading on these school boards. I have seen people activate in ways that I didn't see them in the prosperous years of President Trump. People are mad. This is not the way life goes. And to your point about girls that are competing with all of their might and they're falling short, they're not just giving up on the dream of winning that race. They're losing college scholarship opportunities. 2 years ago in Connecticut, in the high school girls track division, 15 state all-time records were shattered by two boys that ran as girls in that division.
But the leaders of the state let this happen, Kevin. Can you imagine adult grown men and women elected to these positions, intelligent professional people, let this happen? Those people should be hung out to dry. Those people should have people go to their homes and say, demand that either you change this or you need to resign.
What is the key between those local officials and the Biden administration? I mean, Biden came into office and said, we're gonna not just protect transgenders' ability to compete in women's divisions, we're going to expand it. And he's tried to force down executive orders on the public schools across the country to adopt it. They haven't all gone with it, and some states are fighting it pretty aggressively. Florida and Texas have told him to go pound sand. That's what should be happening.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
218 out with him. Headed for the house. He's got a hostage.
You believe in God, Chuck? Why does a kid die? Drug dealer get off scot-free?
Well, the only answer to that is there isn't a God.
You have a choice. You can either let the darkness overtake you, or you can be a bearer of the light.
So just think of
My name's David from up here in the high desert. I've moved out here to California from Alabama. I fully support you. I think you are the greatest ever. I've been waiting on you to run. You, Candace, all of y'all, I thought y'all would be the best people in the world to run any form of anything. So please run for California governor.
Hello, Mr. Elder. I just wanted to give you some encouragement to run for California government, our governor. My name's Joe. I'm a big fan of your show, and I'm looking forward to your candidacy, and I will definitely be giving you my vote. Thank you, and God bless. Take care.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com. I got to tell you, the reaction has been overwhelming. I put a couple of posts on my Instagram account. Every morning I do something called Road Rage. I hope to continue to do that every morning, where for 59 seconds or less I say something about some issue, something on my mind, and I ask people to let me know what they thought about the possibility of my running for governor. And the reaction was overwhelming in favor of my doing it. Again, I'm going to make an announcement at 5:45 p.m. Pacific time later on this evening. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to need a lot of help if I do this. One of the questions I was asked is, are you putting in your own money into the campaign? I said, what money? I said, my net worth is probably around $3 million. That's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. Meg Whitman spent $150 million, the former CEO of, I believe she was of eBay. She spent $150 million of her own money, lost by 10 points. So you can have money and no message, have a good message and no money. Either way, it's bad. And I said, unless lots and lots and lots of Eldorados, lots and lots of people who've heard me on radio for the last 30 years, unless I get contributions from them in the $10, $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000 range, I have zero chance of winning. And one of the reasons, if I decide to run, that I will run is because I believe that I have a lot of people, hopefully hundreds of thousands of people, who know that for 30 years I've talked about the values of limited government, of low taxes, of light regulation. I've talked about the importance of securing the borders. I've talked about the decline of public schools. I've talked about school choice. I've talked about homelessness and what we should do about it and what we can do about it. And in California, as you know, in the last several weeks, I've talked to experts like Bill Jones, a third-generation farmer, about what to do about the water problems we have in this country. I've talked to people like Chuck DeVore, who's an expert on power and energy, about the adverse reaction to anybody even suggesting that we build nuclear power plants. France is pretty much energy self-sufficient because they rely so much on nuclear. Japan is pretty much energy self-sufficient because they rely so much on nuclear. And we love Japan and love France until we don't love Japan and we don't love France regarding those kinds of things. And so please, if I decide to run, I will probably have a website that I'm going to announce at 5:45 p.m. Pacific time if I run. But unless you guys help me, I have zero chance. This guy doesn't have spending limits, but I have spending limits. I'll talk to you about that at the top of the hour. I'm Larry Elder.
Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Yesterday, General Milley told a congressional hearing that there is no chance, very unlikely and very little motivation for the People's Republic of China on this, the 100th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party, to assault Taiwan in the near term. Quote, there's no reason to do it militarily, and they know that. So I think the probability is probably low in the immediate near-term future. Your reaction, Senator Cotton?
Well, I think that's right. Up through the end of the Beijing Olympics in February, Russia didn't invade Crimea in the 8 months before the Sochi Olympics in 2014. They invaded it 4 days after those Olympics ended.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
When did you wake up and say, hang on, this is not good?
Well, like I said earlier, I've been in for over 15 years. The first 14 years of my career, I was in the Air Force, was in the flying community, and then came into the Space Force. Every unit that I've ever been in, all of my professional interactions with people during the preponderance of my career have been highly professional, not politicized. We focus on a mission that unifies us. We wear the same uniform and we go out and do our job every day. And when I noticed personally these things really rapidly beginning to change was in the past calendar year, but specifically in the aftermath of George Floyd's death. What you saw in broader society in the form of social justice activism pouring into the streets, the disruption of civil liberties, for example, and the dialogue, if you want to call it that ensued in the aftermath is the very thing that I saw just spill over into active duty military units. Now, I'll be clear that every unit is different, every leader is different, every base is different. But that's when I was really keen on seeing this happen. Now, I've been in academia for the past 2 years. And so what I'm able to share is simply one man's perception of when this is. I left academia in June of last year and came out to my current base and have had these experiences. But it's my sense that the seeds are planted long ago. This is a subversive agenda.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Fiance? No, I can't be your fiance.
You're gonna go. You're gonna be my fiance, and you're gonna be the most amazing, fascinating, most successful man ever. We're only gonna be there for a few hours, eat dinner, and I promise we'll have the best breakup of all time.
My baby, my princess. Oh, yeah. Beat a little bit.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
This is the destruction of a fair and independent judiciary, and this is using ultimate power to try to destroy political opponents.
100%, Charlie. And it's not like this is the only example. I mean, listen, if you've been watching for the last 5 years, look at the FBI. Look at what they were doing. Nothing happens. They can lie before Congress. They can go and do a witch hunt. They can all know that it's BS. They can all get on TV and act as political pundits and talk about things in a way that they know to not be correct. You saw that, right? They testified before Congress. No, there was nothing there. But on TV every night, they pretended as though Russia was a real thing.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Joe Biden was sold as a moderate. People that had worked with Joe Biden back in the day said, "Oh, I've known Joe for years. He's okay. He's fine."
Listen, when he got the hair plugs, he flipped. A long time ago, he was bald as an egg, and he got hair plugs. And I believe those hair plugs were from a Chinese lab in the Wuhan province, and things started to go screwy, and he flipped.
So he said. I don't know that that's true. I think he hid maybe who he was for a long time. A lot of liberals did in the 70s.
Wait. First of all, he's nobody. He has no values. Let's not kid ourselves. He's not a Marxist. He is a husk of a person, and he will just do. That's the whole point of your article at townhall.com. People are running him and steering him, and he doesn't have the whisper of what we would call courage or conviction.
Right. Well, and because he can't get the stuff kicked out fast enough. I mean, they've attacked so many different areas of culture and life all at once, and I think this is part of the blowback that is causing parental communities to rise up. You know, one of the things I'm most excited about, to be candid, out of all this, is to see the growth of middle-class black parents debating CRT to their own school boards. There's something very powerful about a father and a mother, married black couple, living in a suburb and being part of a community and saying to a school board, what you're in essence trying to do is teach my child to be a racist.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Things just happened.
My girlfriend and my best friend.
You got 30 days to grow up, son.
Nathan Hannigan, it is good to have you home.
Nona, it's Nathan.
Well, you don't mind my giving her your room, do you?
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
This is unbelievably important, the ultimate issue.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio, as you know. I am strongly considering entering this crazy recall race to recall this arrogant Democrat Governor Gavin Newsom. The election is scheduled for September 14th. It is a two-step deal. On the very same ballot, you first vote to recall him, and if 50% plus one vote does in fact recall him, the next step is to add up the number of people who got votes to replace him. So you're voting A, to recall Gavin Newsom, and B, you name his replacement among the slate of nominees. And if I enter, I will be on that slate of nominees. Now, in preparing for this race, I found out a number of things that were absolutely jaw-dropping. State is worse off than I thought. As you heard from Bill Jones, a third-generation farmer who's the last, in my opinion, real conservative Republican to be elected statewide in California. I don't count Arnold Schwarzenegger. He ended up being a complete sellout as he moved to the left. And Bill Jones says that we have a water infrastructure system in this state. The last major addition was in the 70s to support a state of 20 million, but California is now 40 million. And I was asked what to do about that. And I was told that, and I told him that there are a number of things that can be done, but I'm not going to be able to solve that between now and 2020, which will be when the rest of the term is over. And assuming I were lucky enough to become governor, I would then have to run for a fresh term. So it's not going to be solved no matter what I do between now and then. But we can push this ship in the right direction, and I can use my emergency powers, if necessary, to suspend some of the rules and regulations that prevent the construction of things that would actually help, like underwater storage, so that when we do have rainy seasons, we have enough storage capacity so much of the water does not run off into the Pacific Ocean. But I also found out this. I found out that I, as a challenger, assuming I get into the race, I have campaign finance limits. Roughly $9 million. It's kind of complicated, but roughly $9 million is the amount of money that I can spend. Guess what the limitations are for the incumbent governor? None. Zero. He can spend as much as he wants, as much as is given to him, he can spend. And what will they do with the money? They'll make anybody who appears to be a rival, anything you've ever done, if you've ever picked your feet in Poughkeepsie, doesn't matter. They will figure out something, I was told. And shortly after rumors circulated that I might get into this race, the SEIU union poured $5 million into the anti-recall side. And the teachers union, California Teachers Association, has been the biggest funder of his campaign by far. And what do you think they're going to do to me? A champion of school choice, a champion of charter schools, which means the teachers do not automatically belong to the union, and therefore they don't automatically get those union dues. They're going to come after me with a vengeance, which means if I decide to get into this race, I have no hope in hell unless hundreds of thousands of you step up and go to the website, assuming I have a website, when I make my announcement at 5:45 p.m. this evening. I cannot win without a bunch of money that goes into TV ads, radio ads in this state. You cannot win a state this big, 40 million, 58 counties, big geographical distribution. You cannot win in this state without plenty of money. And I'm going to need a lot of help, assuming I get into this race. Again, I'll be announcing that around 5:45 p.m. This afternoon. And if I get in, I'll be announcing a website where you can help. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Also, in preparing for this race, I talked to a lot of police officers. As you know, I talked to the L.A. County Sheriff, Alex Villanueva, on Friday, and talked about the crime out of control for a number of reasons, not least of which is during this pandemic, the governor oversaw the release of 20,000 prisoners under the COVID, quote, early release program. Many of these prisoners were violent offenders. And statistically, the majority of them are going to reoffend, which means there's going to be a whole bunch of crime victims. And that is not, but that is just one of the many reasons why crime has gone up. And according to the Associated Press, some 76,000 more California prisoners are going to be eligible for early release over the coming months and years. This is outrageous. And then you have this anti-cop narrative, both locally and nationally. And I reminded one of these guys I talked to, the big proponent of the police are systemically racism, Colin Kaepernick. And do you know what inspired it? He said, Michael Brown. I said, Mario Woods. He says, who's Mario Woods? I said, look it up. Kaepernick has said that the case of Mario Woods inspired him to start kneeling. Mario Woods was a black man in Oakland, brandishing a knife. There is video of a bystander filming him on smartphone saying, bro, put down the knife, put down the knife. He didn't put down the knife. He made a furtive gesture, a threatening gesture. He got popped. And what did Kaepernick say? Kaepernick said that Mario Woods had been, quote, executed, close quote. This is what sparked the protests? And I'm telling you, officers are hopping mad. And you know what they're doing? They're pulling back. They're not engaging in proactive policing. It's called the Ferguson effect. Some people are now calling it the George Floyd effect, where officers are saying, okay, if I get out of my car and I try to stop crime because I see something that looks suspicious, what's the upside? Somebody's going to film it. Somebody's going to accuse me of being racist or being an Uncle Tom or being a Tio Taco. What's the upside? So a lot of officers are just responding to radio calls. Bad guys know it. Crime is going up. And is this governor defending the police, if only rhetorically? No. Now, here is what Judge Janine said.
The number one health issue in the United States that has reached a fever pitch level is not COVID. It's not global warming. It's not racism. It's out of control criminals being allowed to terrorize the rest of us. There's a war waging on the streets of America right now. It started last summer when rioting thugs started burning down property and businesses. Why? Because criminals felt they could.
And man, again, as I mentioned, here in California, you steal $950 or less, it no longer is a felony. You no longer fear going to jail. It's a misdemeanor if you get caught and you get a ticket. And you can do this every single day. Now, let's not call them thieves. Let's call them undocumented choppers. Paying meth addicts not to smoke meth. Why don't we pay thieves not to steal? Why don't we pay the car note of car thieves so they won't steal cars? This is idiotic. This is what they do in this state. And the California AG just added 5 states, including Florida, to the list of states where tax dollars are not used for government workers to go to. Why? Well, because Florida passed a law banning male transgender from competing against females. And that, of course, is beyond the pale for the AG here in California. Well, there are a bunch of dumb, stupid laws we have. And why aren't other states retaliating against us? I just now mentioned that a federal judge ruled that the so-called assault weapons ban here in California was unconstitutional. Why aren't pro-gun states like Kentucky and other places saying we're not going to fund taxpayer travel to California? We also have a stupid law that went into effect the 1st of this year that says any publicly held corporation headquartered in California, effective January 1, has to have at least one person on the board from an underrepresented community, females or people of color. Putting a board member on because of race or because of gender by law, it's unconstitutional. I'm Larry Elder.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Joe Biden was sold as a moderate. People that had worked with Joe Biden back in the day said, "Oh, I've known Joe for years. He's okay. He's fine."
Listen, when he got the hair plugs, he flipped. A long time ago, he was bald as an egg, and he got hair plugs. And I believe those hair plugs were from a Chinese lab in the Wuhan province, and things started to go screwy, and he flipped.
So he said. I don't know that that's true. I think he hid maybe who he was for a long time. A lot of liberals did in the 70s.
Wait. First of all, he's nobody. He has no values. Let's not kid ourselves. He's not a Marxist. He is a husk of a person, and he will just do. That's the whole point of your article at townhall.com. People are running him and steering him, and he doesn't have the whisper of what we would call courage or conviction.
Right. Well, and because he can't get the stuff kicked out fast enough. I mean, they've attacked so many different areas of culture and life all at once, and I think this is part of the blowback that is causing parental communities to rise up. You know, one of the things I'm most excited about, to be candid, out of all this, is to see the growth of middle-class black parents debating CRT to their own school boards. There's something very powerful about a father and a mother, married black couple, living in a suburb and being part of a community, and saying to a school board, what you're in essence trying to do is teach my child to be a racist.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Things just happened.
My girlfriend and my best friend.
You got 30 days to grow up, son.
Nathan Hannigan, it is good to have you home.
Nona, it's Nathan.
Well, you don't mind my giving her your room, do you?
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
This is unbelievably important, the Ultimate Issues Hour. Now you realize, many of you realized earlier, but now you realize even better how important it is to have a clear outlook on life. Otherwise, you're susceptible to nonsense, which is what is now taught from kindergarten to university. So we talk about the great issues. I have one today. Every one of you, no, that's not exactly correct. The vast majority of you are aware of all the studies that I respect anyway, all the studies, even the ones I don't respect, note the benefits of a religious life. People are happier, they live longer, they have more people in their lives. By every criterion, it is a better way to live. So, what stops you? Not what stops you from believing in God. It's not the issue. I have raised that issue. That's not the issue. The issue is what stops you from leading a religious life. You can lead a
Larry, I've been following you for years. I think it's an absolute must that you get into the race. You speak sense. You're a great patriot. You can pull a lot of disparate groups together, and you could save California. So please get into the race. I will also volunteer. Thank you.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-72. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. As you know, my friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help anybody get the best sleep of his or her life. Didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Mike created the new Giza Dream bed sheets. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule, which may get even busier. I'll be having an announcement to make around 5:45 p.m. Pacific time today. Now, Mike has found the world's best cotton. It's called Giza. It is ultra soft, breathable, and extremely durable. Mike's Giza sheets come with a 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. First night you sleep on a Giza sheet, you will never want to sleep on anything else. The Giza Dream sheets come in a variety of sizes and colors, and Mike is making a special offer for my listeners. You're going to receive 2 for 1 low price plus free shipping. So go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener square, and use promo code Larry. You're going to find there not only this amazing offer, but also deep discounts on other MyPillow products, including, but not limited to, the MyPillow mattress topper, the MyPillow towel sets, and so much more. So call 1-800-890-1843. Be sure and use promo code Larry. That's 1-800-890-1843. Or go to mypillow.com. That's mypillow.com. And again, make sure you use promo code Larry. Paul is in Riverside, California. Paul, you're on the Larry Elder Show.
Hey, Larry, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Paul.
I'm so excited. I hope you run, Larry. I mean this sincerely. You'd be the best option for the state, and you got my support 100%. Just make sure they don't use the Dominion machines when they tally all that stuff up.
I wouldn't put them past him. I wouldn't put it past him, Paul.
Oh, man, and better beef up your security, too, Larry. I'm serious, dude. But, hey, what I want to talk to you about was, I was listening to Charlie Kirk, and he was talking about the VAERS reporting and how a lot of the vaccine side effects aren't being reported at the CDC website for the VAERS. And he was saying he's got over 2,000 emails of all these folks that are emailing him saying, hey, my daughter was healthy, but then she got vaccinated, and then, she was pregnant, and they all, there's a lot of people who have died. And it just seems to me, I'm really concerned that not enough information about this is getting out there. And I was wondering, what can we do to, to get the word out and have these folks, maybe we compile all these emails and take them to Tucker or somebody with a huge platform, and he can just talk about it, because I really feel like, a lot of these adverse side effects are terrible, and they're pushing it so hard. I'm really concerned about it. And so anyway, that was just, that's kind of on my mind. I thought I'd just, roll it past you, see what you thought about it.
Well, Paul, thank you for calling. Here's my thought. I mentioned that my mom's best friend, Mrs. Jeffries, who's now, I think she's over 95 years old, said she wasn't going to get a shot. She's a registered nurse, and said she had a regular flu shot a couple years ago and had a really bad adverse reaction to it. But then she got the shot. And I asked her why. She said, well, she began reading, and she said, I'm probably better off getting it than not getting it. I just did a video, which will be posted on YouTube probably in a few days. And there's a segment in my video about the guitarist Eric Clapton. Clapton has other comorbidities, and he got the shot and had a severe adverse reaction to the point where he thought he wasn't going to be able to play guitar anymore before it went away. So he mentioned it publicly that he had an adverse reaction to the shot, and close friends of his stopped speaking to him. That is how tyrannical it is just to even suggest, maybe, just maybe, this thing has not been thoroughly reviewed. Well, I don't feel that way. I got the shot. My girlfriend got the shot. I didn't have any adverse reaction to it whatsoever. She did, because she already contracted COVID. I never got it from her. And I warned her against getting it, because I thought that once you had it, you had antigens. I think that's what they call it. And you don't need it. But she didn't listen to me. She got the shot and had an adverse reaction to it. It wasn't severe, but it was one that caused her some concern. But I believe that overall, we are better off being vaccinated than not being vaccinated. But I do believe it is a personal choice. And it was done quickly, Operation Warp Speed. Normally, these vaccines take 5 years or so. This was done in less than a year. There was a huge sense of urgency, understandably, and there are a number of vaccines that are on the market. But also because of the Trump derangement syndrome, when Trump suggested hydroxychloroquine and other kinds of treatments, a lot of doctors weren't doing them. And some states even forbade doctors from prescribing them. And now we're finding out, surprise, surprise, that hydroxychloroquine, used in a timely fashion in combination with other drugs, does have an effect, enable you to treat this. And sometimes even preventatively, which apparently is what Donald Trump did, but he nevertheless still contracted COVID. So I'm not one of those who tells people not to get vaccinated. I certainly did. And I have comorbidities too. but I was more worried about contracting it than worried about contracting it without having a shot than contracting it with a shot. So I did it, and I'm not telling other people what to do, but I certainly did. And the people I know who've gotten the shot, I don't know anybody who has contracted the coronavirus afterwards or who had any kind of really severe adverse reaction. But again, I mentioned the incident of Eric Clapton. So use your own judgment. There's lots of information on the internet about people who are skeptical about the effectiveness of the vaccine. And I respect some of these people. All I'm telling you is that I, Larry Yoder, decided to get it early. And I got it when I was notified by the hospital that I go to regularly because I have a blood condition. And my blood gets too thick, and I'm on medication for that. But before I was on medication, I used to have a phlebotomy every 3 or 4 months in order for my blood to flow without being coagulated. And so I do have a comorbidity. I'm also a sickle cell. I have the sickle cell anemia trait. I'm not a carrier, but I have the trait. And I also have high blood pressure. So for all those reasons, I was a little concerned about getting it, but I ran it by my doctor, and my doctor suggested that I would be more beneficial than not, and so I did it. Again, a very personal choice. Paul, thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it. 888-971-SAGE. Steve is in Texas. Steve, you're on the Larry Yoder Show.
Yes, sir, Larry. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good to hear you, and I wish you the best of luck with your run, and it'd be great to hear you do the show from the governor's mansion there. Hey, listen, I heard you talking about the California deal where they've changed the dollar amount to 900. Was it 400? Now it's 950. I think you said it was.
Correct. Before it triggers a felony, anything under that is a misdemeanor.
Correct. So I thought, well, here's maybe a creative way for the stores to help fight back. It's an unusual solution. If they changed everything in the price, the price of everything in the store to $1,000, and then you have it's kind of silly, but it would work. Change it, have a little tag on the shelf that says that there will be
everything $1,000. Hey, our inflation might get us there anyway in a little while. I'm Larry Elder.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
When did you wake up and say, hang on, this is not good?
Well, like I said earlier, I've been in for over 15 years. The first 14 years of my career, I was in the Air Force, was in the flying community, and then came into the Space Force. Every unit that I've ever been in, all of my professional interactions with people during the preponderance of my career have been highly professional, not politicized. We focus on a mission that unifies us. We wear the same uniform, and we go out and do our job every day. And when I noticed personally these things really rapidly beginning to change was in the past calendar year, but specifically in the aftermath of George Floyd's death. What you saw in broader society in the form of social justice activism pouring into the streets, the disruption of civil liberties, for example, and the dialogue, if you want to call it that ensued in the aftermath is the very thing that I saw just spill over into active duty military units. Now, I'll be clear that every unit is different, every leader is different, every base is different. But that's when I was really keen on seeing this happen. Now, I've been in academia for the past 2 years, and so what I'm able to share is simply one man's perception of when this is. I left academia in June of last year and came out to my current base and have had these experiences. But it's my sense that the seeds are planted long ago. This is a subversive agenda.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Fiance? No, I can't be your fiance.
You're gonna go. You're gonna be my fiance, and you're gonna be the most amazing, fascinating, most successful man ever. We're only gonna be there for a few hours, eat dinner, and I promise we'll have the best breakup of all time.
My baby, my princess. Oh, booyah!
on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Charlie Kirk Show.
And this is the destruction of a fair and independent judiciary. And this is using ultimate power to try to destroy political opponents.
100%, Charlie. And it's not like this is the only example. I mean, listen, if you've been watching for the last 5 years, look at the FBI. Look at what they were doing. Nothing happens. They can lie before Congress. They can go and do a witch hunt. They can all know that it's BS. They can all get on TV and act as political pundits and talk about things in a way that they know to not be correct. You saw that, right? They testified before Congress. No, there was nothing there. But on TV every night, they pretended as though Russia was a real thing.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Joe Biden was sold as a moderate. People that had worked with Joe Biden back in the day said, "Oh, I've known Joe for years. He's okay. He's fine."
Listen, when he got the hair plugs, he flipped. A long time ago, he was bald as an egg, and he got hair plugs.
Hey, Larry, this is Brandon from Atlanta, Georgia. All the stuff you got going on with the governor race, everything's happening out there. Listen, buddy, no one can fix it like you could. I'm happy. I'm proud. But I got to be honest, Larry, we really are going to miss hearing you every day. We love your show. Love everything you're doing. Keep up the great work. See you, buddy.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. And I was just getting the hang of this talk radio thing. You know how candidates always tell stories. Joe Biden likes to tell stories. And so I'm looking for stories. And I didn't have to look far. One of the members of my campaign staff, assuming I run, has a brother who is a high school football coach in Oakland. And she said he just moved in disgust from California to Tennessee. I said, why? And she said he coached a bunch of inner city kids. Most of them were black. She's white. I assume her brother's white. I never met him. And she said he was their father figure. And of course, the football provided these kids with structure. He pleaded with the school to at least let him continue practices. They said no. 2 of the kids got into trouble. 1 committed a crime so serious, he's going to be in prison for years. And her brother is convinced that had this not happened, had the schools not shut sports down when science suggested it could be done safely if you took precautions, that wouldn't have happened. In disgust, he moved to Tennessee, where he is now. And just yesterday, we were cutting commercials for what may or may not be a run for governor. And during the breaks, I'm talking to the makeup lady. Single mom, happened to be white, has a son 17 years old, and she said he's one of the top 25 wrestlers in California for his weight class. And they were in training 6 days a week until, of course, COVID. All of it stopped, dead stop. She said he became morose, became depressed, and came to her and told her that he felt suicidal. And as she's telling me this story, I said, it's good that you had a good enough relationship that he came to you and told you that. And she said, oh, yes, we have a very good relationship, and you're right. I was really, really happy he told me. And she said she put him in counseling. These kinds of things did not have to happen. Meanwhile, this arrogant governor hands down these mandates while munching away at the French Laundry. And I found out the French Laundry wasn't one of the most exclusive restaurants in California. It's one of the most exclusive and pricey restaurants in the country. And I heard the bill was not $12,000, but was $30,000. Not only that, he was sitting with lobbyists and medical professionals who helped draft the mandates that they were violating. They weren't wearing masks. They weren't engaging in social distancing while telling you to do the same thing. Meanwhile, Gavin Newsom had his own kids in in-person private school education. Kids are already behind here in California. And by the way, roughly 80% of the public students here in California are, quote, people of color. White kids, especially those living in the burbs, wouldn't put their kid in a public school. You paid them. And I've talked to you about the percentage of teachers with school-age kids who have their own kids in private school. Roughly 15% of parents in the city of LA have their own kids in private school. But nearly 30% of public school teachers with school-age kids do. Twice the number. Twice the percentage. Why? Because they know better than anybody else what the hell's going on. And they want nothing to do with it. In Philadelphia, 44%. According to a Fordham study, 44% of Philadelphia teachers with school-age kids have their own kids in public school, as opposed to 10% nationwide and 6% of families nationwide, black families nationwide. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? And the teachers union does not want you to have choice while they do? And believe me, they're going to come after me if I decide to get into this race with both barrels. And that is why I'm going to need your support. I cannot run competitively. I cannot run credibly without your support. And if I decide to get into this race, I'll be making an announcement at 5:45 p.m. And if I decide to get in this race, I'm going to have a website where I hope that you help. Without your help, it's not going to happen. Again, I've got spending limitations. This man does not. He can spend an unlimited amount of money. We're never going to raise the kind of money he can spend, but with my message and my ability to deliver it, and assuming I get millions and millions of dollars from people inside and outside the state, I can make this thing a horse race. Now, the docs who formulated Relief Factor believe that our bodies are designed to heal, and they selected the 4 best ingredients, each of which are drug-free, to deal with pain from a different metabolic pathway. Are you suffering from back, shoulder, neck, hip, foot, knee pain? Whether from exercise or just getting older, consider ordering the 3-week Relief Factor Quick Start. Still discounted to only $19.95. That is less than $1 a day to see if we can get you out of pain. Just go to relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com, or call 800-500-8384. That's 800-500-8384.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
This is unbelievably important, the Ultimate Issues Hour. Now you realize, many of you realized earlier, but now you realize even better how important it is to have a clear outlook on life. Otherwise, you're susceptible to nonsense, which is what is now taught from kindergarten to university. So we talk about the great issues. I have one today. Every one of you, no, that's not exactly correct. The vast majority of you are aware of all the studies that I respect anyway, all the studies, even the ones I don't respect, note the benefits of a religious life. People are happier, they live longer, they have more people in their lives. By every criterion, it is a better way to live. So, what stops you? Not what stops you from believing in God. It's not the issue. I have raised that issue. That's not the issue. The issue is what stops you from leading a religious life. You can lead a religious life while you struggle with God, the question of God's existence. They're not the same thing. Here's a related issue. People who say, "Oh, I'm not going to raise my kids with any religion. I'll let them choose when they get older." Why don't you say that about anything else? I'm not going to give my kid music lessons. If they're interested in an instrument, they'll take one later.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Men and women died in Vietnam or the other wars that we fought for our flag.
Hey, what a great call. What a great point that is. To disrespect those men who spilled blood, who left their limbs on the battlefield the way the left is doing. Chris, you're on the Mike Gallagher Show. How you doing, Chris?
Good, Mike. It's a nice honor to talk to you finally.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Honor to speak to you as well.
Mike, I'll make this real quick. I'm probably not all that great at talking on air, but all I am is a lifeguard on the ocean front in southeast North Carolina.
Right.
And I just want to say that, this weekend we had outstanding weather. The crowds were fantastic. Everyone was just well behaved.
Wow.
And Mike, I was on my tower and I was looking north, and I saw the thousands and thousands of people with their umbrellas,
I thought that was a horrible comment to say, especially from a leader, because that is a very generalized and almost a racist comment in itself. I mean, as a culture of Black and brown people, we don't want to be generalized. We don't want to be stereotyped. And to say to reopen school is structural racism, that's wrong.
It just sounds like a gang of excuses to me.
Lamar Freeman also took issue with the UTLA president's comments. Freeman is a coach of the LA Rampage, a youth football team in South LA, and he says all the parents he talks to want their kids back in class.
Our parents are dramatically upset that their kids are out in school. Most of our kids, before the pandemic, we had an 80% honor roll rate. Now, since the distance learning and Zoom classes, that dropped to about maybe 20%. Like most of my A's and B kids are getting B's and C's.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. One of the reasons I'm going to run if I run is because of that. Ignoring the science. You had people pleading with Gavin Newsom to loosen up the restrictions. He didn't. Why? Because he's beholden to the teachers union. The UTLA is the largest affiliate. UTLA, that's the Los Angeles Teachers Union. And they were adamant that schools not reopen, even as they continue, of course, to get full pay. And they are going to pour a great deal of money into this campaign if they feel this guy might go down. Now, the maximum individual contribution that anybody can make is $34,200. That's the maximum. And I'm going to need a number of people, assuming I do this, to contribute the maximum. And I know there are a lot of really, really well-heeled Eldorados out there, and I hope you guys step up and don't leave me hanging because I'm going to need the help. Listen to this.
Tonight, our Bill Malushin spoke to parents who say UTLA does not speak for them.
No one can speak for us better than us.
Renee Bailey is a South LA mother who wants both of her two kids back to in-person learning at their LAUSD schools. She has a 5-year-old and a 14-year-old with an intellectual disability.
He has the intellect of a 3 or 4-year-old. And so he needs schools for the therapies. And the fact that he's basically going on 2 school years without his therapies, my son has regressed.
Bailey says she was outraged when she heard UTLA President Cecily Mayart Cruz say on Monday that rich white people are the ones pushing for schools to reopen, and that Governor Newsom's proposal to give grant money to schools that reopen faster is racist.
If you condition funding
on the reopening of schools, that money will only go to white and wealthier schools that do not have the transmission rates that low-income Black and brown communities do. This is a recipe for propagating structural racism.
That is the head of the UTLA union. Those parents who want their kids back in school, that's a recipe for propagating structural racism.
We asked UTLA to respond to frustration from Black parents about their president's comments. A UTLA representative told us that Pew Research polling mirrors the statements that Mayart Cruz made, that white parents are overwhelmingly behind the push to reopen. But Bailey was so angry with those comments that she and others are now organizing a rally for Black parents in Watts on Saturday to push for LAUSD schools to reopen in-person learning for their kids.
It's almost like minority families want the schools to open more than anybody else. And the reason why I say that is because education for us, for our culture, is a stairway out of poverty. So every day that our children is not in school, that's just a day closer to poverty for them.
Whoever's in charge, and just get these kids back in school.
And for any parents out there who want to be a part of the rally on Saturday, it's going to take place at Ted Watkins Park at 11 a.m. The first 250 kids there will get a free backpack and school supplies. In West LA, Bill Malugin, Fox 11 News.
So, if you want to know why the governor defied the science and nevertheless complied with the teachers union, look no further than the amount of money they've given this man to get him elected, and look no further than the amount of money that they're going to spend to make sure he doesn't go anywhere. Meanwhile, again, his own kids enjoyed continuing their in-school private education. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Robert is in San Jose, California. Robert, you're on the Larry Elder Show. Thank you so much for calling.
Oh, hey, Larry. It's finally great to talk to you. I used to listen to you in the 1990s when I lived in L.A. Now I listen to you back up in San Jose. I really hope and pray that you go on and beat Gavin Newsom. I'm rooting for you. I'll do whatever I can to help you. I'm in the heart of Silicon Valley, and it's heartbreaking to see half of my family, almost all of my friends, leave California in the last 20 years. So please run, Larry.
Well, Robert, thank you very much for that. Again, I'll be making an announcement at 5:45 p.m. And if I do, I will have a website where those of you who want to help can help. Again, this is absolutely hopeless unless I get money, because I'm going to be going up against an incumbent Democrat governor who's supported by the teachers union, the largest contributor to his campaign by far, the SEIU union. I played you an excerpt from the then, I think he still is the senior VP of SEIU, Eliseo Medina, who after Obama got elected, said if we have amnesty, if 2/3 of these illegal aliens turn citizens, turn voters, vote for our causes, we're going to have a progressive governing coalition for the long haul, knowing full well that the majority of these new citizens are going to pull that lever for the Democratic Party. I've been telling you for years that if illegals in this country, when they became citizens, would likely vote Republican, the borders would be shut down tighter than Ted's hat band. They would not allow it. Anyway, Robert, thank you very much for the call. I really do appreciate it. We come back. I was asked about racism by one of these reporters. Do you think that racism is a major problem in America? Pfft, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I said the systemic racism narrative is crap. It's getting people killed. And I said far and away the number one problem in the black community, indeed in the country, is a growing number of kids who enter the world without a father married to the mother. Nearly 25% of white kids now enter the world without a father married to the mother, the same percentage of black kids that did so back in 1965. You're telling me that the 70% of black kids entering the world without a father right now is due to racism? Please. Now, the docs who formulated Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, each of which are 100% drug-free to deal with pain from a separate metabolic pathway. Do you have back, shoulder, neck, foot, knee pain from exercise or just dealing with life? I suggest you order the 3-week Relief Factor Quick Start. Still discounted to only $19.95. That is less than $1 a day to see if we can get you out of pain. After that, less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day for you to stay out of pain. Just go to relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Over 70% of those who order the 3-week Quick Start go on to order more, or call 800-500-8384. That's 800-500-8384.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
What is your message to those who think this isn't a big deal or who feel cowed and intimidated? What do you say to them?
Anytime you say something like what I'm about to say, I'm sure it can be abused and misused, so I'll be very careful in how I say it. I've never read Hitler's Mein Kampf, but I've picked it up recently in the past week because I'm interested in learning everything I can about history. After spending just a day with his Mein Kampf, the spirit and essence of his race hatred that shows up in that book, a set of 2 books, is very similar to what I'm seeing show up in How to Be an Anti-Racist.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
I want to talk about what's happening in New York with Letitia James and what I consider to be a political persecution unlike anything, I think, in American political history. How are you guys dealing with this? And do you guys see this as, you obviously said this last night, but as a continuation of almost this 5-year political witch hunt?
100%. I mean, it's pretty clear when the Attorney General of a state, without any information, literally campaigns on saying, "Hey, we're going to investigate, we're going to lock them up, we're going to do this, that, and the other." It's pretty amazing that they can get away with it, and then they do it, and then they do it for 5 years. And the reality is this: there's no recourse. There's no one keeping them in check, Charlie. They can just do this. You have nowhere to appeal it to. You're going to appeal it to a left.
Larry, I agree with what you're saying 100%. There's not many fathers. There's a breakdown of family units, and we can solve some of these problems.
Larry, run, run, run. Larry Elder, you're the one. Larry, it's not too late. You're the one who can save our state. Down with poverty, down with crime. Larry Elder, this is your time. Gavin Newsom must be scared because you're the one who really cares. Larry Elder, you can win and make our state gold again. Larry, run, run, run. Larry Elder, you're the one. You got my vote, Larry.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com. To the top of the hour, I'll talk to you about the conversation I had with one of the reporters about racism. And I've given the story about my father who came to L.A. in 1945. He's from Athens, Georgia. You've heard me tell you the story many times. And he became a Pullman porter on the trains. They were the largest private employer of blacks in those days. So this little black boy comes to California. This is before the war. And he walked through a restaurant in the front door. And my dad told me he was amazed because he always carried with him some crackers and tins of tuna because you never knew when you'd be able to get a meal, if you could get a meal in the South. He made a mental note that maybe someday I'll relocate to Los Angeles. Pearl Harbor, my dad joins the Marines. He becomes a staff sergeant in charge of cooking for the quote-unquote colored soldiers. Gets out, goes back to Chattanooga where he had met and married my mom, and tried to get him a job as a short order cook, and he was told, "We don't hire N-words," to his face. Goes to an unemployment office. Lady says, "You went through the wrong door." Goes out to the hall, sees colored only, goes through that door to the very same lady who sent him out. My father said, this is BS. Told my mom he's going out to Los Angeles. He's going to get a job as a cook, and I'll send for you. So my dad comes out here, walks around for a day and a half, and restaurant after restaurant after restaurant tells the man, I'm sorry, you don't have any references. My dad said, references to make ham and eggs? Went to an unemployment office, this time just one door. They had nothing. My dad said, what time do you open? She said, 9. What time do you close? She said, 5. My dad said, I'll be sitting there until you find something. My dad sat there for a full day, came back the next day, sat for a half a day. Lady calls him up and says, I've got something for you. I'm not sure you're going to want it. He said, of course I'm going to want it. What is it? And she said, you'll be cleaning toilets and Nabisco brand bread. My dad did that for 10 years, took a second full-time job cleaning toilets, saved up enough money to buy a house in South Central that is now worth $600,000 because the cost of living has gone up so incredibly high. So nobody could duplicate what my dropout dad did, even if he or she worked 3 jobs. And that is one of the many reasons young people are leaving. They can't get their starter house. It's almost impossible. And we need to do something about that. And there's something called CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, that developers tell me allows somebody to file a lawsuit to stop a project for any reason for an indefinite period of time, jacking up the cost. I'm Larry Elder.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Joe Biden was sold as a moderate. People that had worked with Joe Biden back in the day said, "Oh, I've known Joe for years. He's okay. He's fine."
Listen, when he got the hair plugs, he flipped. A long time ago, he was bald as an egg, and he got hair plugs. And I believe those hair plugs were from a Chinese lab in the Wuhan province, and things started to go screwy, and he flipped.
So he said. I don't know that that's true. I think he hid maybe who he was for a long time. A lot of liberals did in the 70s.
Wait. First of all, he's nobody. He has no values. Let's not kid ourselves. He's not a Marxist. He is a husk of a person, and he will just do. That's the whole point of your article at townhall.com. People are running him and steering him, and he doesn't have the whisper of what we would call courage or conviction.
Right. Well, and because he can't get the stuff kicked out fast enough. I mean, they've attacked so many different areas of culture and life all at once, and I think this is part of the blowback that is causing parental communities to rise up. You know, one of the things I'm most excited about, to be candid, out of all this, is to see the growth of middle-class black parents debating CRT to their own school boards. There's something very powerful about a father and a mother, married black couple, living in a suburb and being part of a community and saying to a school board, what you're in essence trying to do is teach my child to be a racist.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Things just happened.
My girlfriend and my best friend.
You got 30 days to grow up, son.
Nathan Hannigan, it is good to have you home.
Nona, it's Nathan.
Well, you don't mind my giving her your room, do you?
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
This is unbelievably important, the Ultimate Issues Hour. Now you realize, many of you realized earlier, but now you realize even better how important it is to have a clear outlook on life. Otherwise, you're susceptible to nonsense, which is what is now taught from kindergarten to university. So we talk about the great issues. I have one today. Every one of you, no, that's not exactly correct. The vast majority of you are aware of all the studies that I respect anyway, all the studies, even the ones I don't respect, note the benefits of a religious life. People are happier, they live longer, they have more people in their lives. By every criterion, it is a better way to live. So, what stops you? Not what stops you from believing in God. It's not the issue. I have raised that issue. That's not the issue. The issue is what stops you from leading a religious life. You can lead a religious life while you struggle with God, the question of God's existence. They're not the same thing. Here's a related issue. People who say, "Oh, I'm not going to raise my kids with any religion. I'll let them choose when they get older." Why don't you say that about anything else? I'm not going to give my kid music lessons. If they're interested in an instrument, they'll take one later.
Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Men and women died in Vietnam or the other wars that we fought for our flag.
Hey, what a great call. What a great point that is. To disrespect those men who spilled blood, who left their limbs on the battlefield the way the left is doing. Chris, you're on the Mike Gallagher Show. How you doing, Chris?
Good, Mike. It's a nice honor to talk to you finally.
Oh, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Honor to speak to you as well.
Mike, I'll make this real quick. I'm probably not all that great at talking on air, but all I am is a lifeguard on the ocean front in southeast North Carolina.
Right.
And I just want to say that, this weekend we had outstanding weather. The crowds were fantastic. Everyone was just well behaved.
Wow.
And Mike, I was on my tower and I was looking north, and I saw the thousands and thousands of people with their umbrellas, thousands of people in the water just enjoying. The kids were playing. The kids were running around, and happy cries and screams were going on. Mike, in my binoculars, you got to picture this. You got the city line and the beach and the ocean. But in my binoculars, I saw all of this going on, and then in the center was the American flag waving, and Mike, it just brought me to tears sitting in my tower watching this, and just thinking about all the people who disrespect our flag, and like your last caller, all the men who died for this country. It just brought me to tears sitting on the tower watching all this going on.
And you know what? You got to keep reminding yourself, millions and millions of Americans feel just the way you and I do. Chris, we're not alone. We're not in the minority.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Get back or I'll shoot you.
The ones left inside for the pastor and his 2 daughters.
If you run, I'll shoot your family. Nobody cares whether I live or die. It's bad.
I'm not going to stand around and be a part of it anymore. Give me the gun.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. I was asked today, why is it that there isn't a single Republican elected statewide here in California, by a reporter. I said, there are a number of reasons for this. I said, first of all, most people get up in the morning, do their jobs. They're trying to put food on the table, pay their house note if they are lucky enough to have a house, and they're concerned about safety. They don't have time to watch all this stuff and connect the dots. I said, I believe I have the ability to explain to Joe and Joan Sixpack why the price of housing is up so high and connect it to the brain-dead left-wing policies that have been pushed down the throats of Californians for decades in Sacramento. I have the ability to talk about the connection between the left-wing policies, the attack against the police, the laws that were passed that basically allow anybody to steal up to $950 without going to jail, because it's just a misdemeanor. If you get caught, they give you a ticket. And I said, so a lot of people just don't connect the two. We have these brownouts, and people aren't understanding there's been a war on nuclear. So the nuclear power plants are being shut down one after another here in California. Never mind that countries like Japan and France get the bulk of their power from nuclear, and we love Japan and France until we don't love Japan and France. And I said, there's another reason, though. I said, it's the way the media are unfair to conservatives in general, and frankly to Larry Elder in particular. The most important newspaper in this state is the LA Times. Now, I always wanted to throw the LA Times when I was a kid. You know, they had paper boys in those days. But the LA Times was the morning paper, and my parents did let me throw the then Herald Examiner, no longer around. It's now defunct. It's the evening paper. But I've always enjoyed newspapers. And to my knowledge, there isn't a single columnist, conservative, let alone a, quote, columnist of color, close quote, in the LA Times. They carry a syndicated conservative columnist named Jonah Goldberg, but he's not local. And to my knowledge, there isn't a single conservative, let alone a conservative of color, on the LA Times editorial board. I said I was born and raised here. By any measure, I'm a success story. Born in an area called Pico Union, which was then and is now heavily Hispanic. Moved, quote, uptown, close quote, to South Central. Second black family and was in an all-white neighborhood. Within years, virtually every single white person moved out. And I wrote a book about my relationship with my father called Dear Father, Dear Son, 2 Lives, 8 Hours, never reviewed by the LA Times. My first book, The 10 Things You Can't Say in America, came out, I think it was 2000, never reviewed by the LA Times, even though it made the LA Times bestseller list. And a little line under the listing in the bestseller list of the LA Times, I said New York Times, I meant LA Times. New York Times and LA Times, but LA Times is what I want to focus on. It said, radio talk show host heaps his scorn on a variety of issues, but they never reviewed the book. My next book, Showdown, Confronting Bias, Lies, and Special Interests, also made the LA Times bestseller list, made the New York Times extended bestseller list, not reviewed by the LA Times. I published a book that was initially called Stupid Black Men, meaning not black men are stupid, don't treat black men like they're stupid. Michael Moore had a book called Stupid White Men. That didn't bother anybody. But I told you that when my book came out, I went to the airport LAX when I was there for flying out somewhere, and I went in to see if they carried my book. They did carry my first book, The 10 Things You Can't Say in America. And the proprietor happened to be an Asian American lady. She said, oh, I asked for the book. She said, yeah, they asked me to order that book. I refused to do it because I found the title was offensive. I said, really? I'm the guy who wrote the book. And she went, oh, By the way, in the book, I talk about how race-based preferences jack over Asian Americans. After Proposition got passed here in California that outlawed the use of race in admissions in colleges and universities, the percentage of Asians that got admitted to UCLA and to UC Berkeley, the two most competitive campuses, went up, which meant that Asians with superior grades and test scores were being shafted in favor of black and Hispanic students with less credentials. And after 209 got passed, the percentage of blacks and Hispanics who graduated on time went up because they still went to the UC system. They just didn't get into UC Berkeley or UCLA. They got into the less competitive campuses. And as a result, were able to keep up better and were able to graduate more likely on time. That was in the book that she refused to carry because she thought the title was racist. I have published a collection of my essays, none of which reviewed by the LA Times. And by the way, the two other major newspapers here in Southern California are the LA Daily News, primarily covering what's called the San Fernando Valley, and the Orange County Register, covering Orange County, both of which carry my column. I've written since April of 1998 a column every single week. I think I miss 1 or 2 weeks because they give you the option of taking 2 weeks off during Christmas. And I never like taking any time off, but I've taken a couple weeks here and there. So I've written over 1,000 articles covering state issues, national issues, international issues, local issues. LA Times has never carried a single one of my columns. And as you know, I executive produced a film called Uncle Tom, an oral history of the black conservative. Every scene was shot by a man named Justin Malone. It's a Malone film. And he edited it, co-edited by a man named Ryder Ansell. And I had a hand in writing it. I'm the one who raised the money, made some suggestions that were adopted, and it was an extremely successful film by any stretch of the imagination. Higher IMDb rating than any of the 5 nominated for Best Documentary last year. Made more money than the other 5, from what I can tell, combined. So it was a financial, artistic success. I contacted the film reviewers at the New York Times, at the LA Times, at the Daily Variety, at the Hollywood Reporter, at Time, at Newsweek. Not a single one wrote word one about Uncle Tom, including, of course, the LA Times. Now, I have a cable channel called Spectrum. And when you cut on Spectrum, it defaults to the LA Times own channel. And it used to tick me off. But as I got to more and more local issues, I began paying attention to it, and I used to cut it away right away when I turned on my television set, but then I began watching it. So I've been watching it for over 2 years. And author after author after author is interviewed from the LA area, all left wing. Movie producer after movie producer, executive producer, interviewed after interview after interview, all left wing. Uncle Tom, no one has ever invited me on Spectrum to talk about it, ever invited me on Spectrum to talk about any of my books. And again, never carried a single one of my over 1,000 columns. So I said to this reporter, what is my guarantee you're going to be fair to me? Completely ignored by any story, any stretch. I am a success story that I would have thought you guys would have embraced. Obviously, I'm being shafted because of my politics. That is why we're going to need so much money in order to compete if I decide to get into this race. I'll make an announcement at 5:45 p.m. Pacific time. I'm Larry Elder.
Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Donald Rumsfeld is famous for many things. Before Donald Trump, there was Newt Gingrich in the 2012 campaign, demonstrating hostility to the media and confrontation with the media. But before there was Newt Gingrich, there was Donald Rumsfeld, demonstrating command of the media. Most famous for his combination of command and concise knowledge is this cut, which is his most famous response to a question.
There are reports that there is no evidence of a direct link between Baghdad and some of these terrorist organizations.
There are known knowns. There are things we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know. But there are also unknown unknowns. The ones we don't know, we don't know.
Excuse me, but is this an unknown unknown?
I'm not.
Several unknowns, and I'm just wondering.
I'm not going to say which it is.
But Mr. Secretary,
I'm right here. I'm right here.
See, Rumsfeld knew exactly what he was doing. It makes perfect sense, and that's why his memoir is known as Known Unknowns. But for the full tutorial on how to deal with the media, here is a press situation with Donald Rumsfeld on April the 11th, 2003. Listen to how he deals with a hostile press.
I picked up a newspaper today, and I couldn't believe it. I read 8 headlines that talked about chaos, violence, unrest, and it just was henny penny. The sky is falling. I've never seen anything like it. And here is a country that's being liberated.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Great. We've had 6 months of the new administration. It is the farthest thing from moderation that the government has ever seen, and it is the fastest track to extremism that we've ever had elected.
But Kevin, how did I know that in advance? Why in my debate with David French did I know this and you knew this? There was no question in my mind. So the fact that this has now happened, part of me wants to say, ha ha, but it's just too sad to say ha ha. This is something that I warned against and you warned against and others warned against because we knew that the consequences are devastating.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
I had studied Marxist history, beginning with Marx and Engels' Communist Manifesto from 1848. And when I first studied that and saw in section 1 of the manifesto what you can recognize as what's called the oppressor versus oppressed narrative of human history, a whole bunch of stuff that was taking place in our country began to become exceptionally clear to me. And I began to piece together a lot of the what I'll call militant impulse that was manifesting in society as time went on. And there's a victimhood ideology. There's constantly an effort by some individuals who have an agenda to pit groups of people against one another as victims.
Hey Larry, this is Robert from Homeland. I'm an over-the-road truck driver, and in the states, Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, and Oklahoma, I could drive the speed limit of 75. If you run for governor, is there any way you could bring up the issue about this asinine 55 miles per hour speed for truck drivers in the state of California? If you bring this up and able to change it, I could almost guarantee 80% truck drivers would vote for you. Hope you think about it. Thank you, Larry. Keep up the good work.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Going to talk to you about the powers that a governor has here in California in dealing with the hostile legislature, because the Senate and the Assembly, the two branches of state government here in California, are dominated. They've got supermajorities, not majorities, supermajorities of Democrats. So Republicans need not even show up for work and they can do whatever they want. But the governor does have some powers. I was given a tutorial about that over the weekend. I'll talk about that in just a second. Again, 888-971-SAGE is a number. Now, Nina has been doing great on the SOTA weight loss and nutrition program. She's lost almost 20 pounds now, and she's dropping fat, not muscle. She has a plan designed by a nutritionist and is learning how to eat correctly. She wanted to try something for a long time, and it's so amazing and inspiring to watch her go through the process. She has weekly weigh-ins with her SOTA nutritionist, who gives her the tough love she needs. SOTA will not let you fail. They're right there with you step by step through the whole process. And Nina loves the program because it's both easy and, more importantly, it's effective. SOTAweightloss.com. SOTA stands for state of the art. SOTA Weight Loss has 7 beautiful in-office Dallas locations and an expansive nationwide program that is 100% over the phone with SOTA nutritionists. Read the over 4,600 Google business reviews and study the 750 clients before and after photos. SOTAweightloss.com. SOTAweightloss.com. SOTA is state of the art. Now, I was asked by one of the reporters about how do I feel about systemic racism. And I said, systemic racism? I said, I used to be invited on CNN and on MSNBC on a regular basis. I was. I used to be on the Don Lemon show from time to time. We didn't get along. He once said that I was not very smart because, he's a brainiac. Pause, break for laughter. And I reminded Mr. Lamont the last time I was on that, and I'm telling this to a reporter, that Time and CNN jointly did a massive, massive survey of black teenagers in 1997. What's that, 24 years ago? You've heard me tell this story before, but I'm telling you that I was telling this reporter, and I know he never heard it before. Gobsmacked. So put up with me if you've heard this story before, because what I'm telling you is that I told this to a reporter who hadn't heard it before. And I said, one of the last times I was on CNN, probably the reason why I'm no longer on, is I reminded Mr. Lamont that in 1994, his network teamed up with Time magazine to do this massive survey on racism of black teens and white teens. And they asked both whether racism was a major problem in America, and not too surprisingly, they both said yes. After all, when you're told that racism is a major problem in America all your life, you typically tend to think that it must be a major problem in America. But then the pollsters did something I'd never seen anybody do. They asked the black teens whether racism was a major problem, a minor problem, or no problem in their own daily life. 89% of black teens said racism was a minor problem or no problem in my own daily life. In fact, twice as many black teens as white teens said, and this is a verbatim quote, failure to take advantage of available opportunities is a bigger problem than racism, end of quote. Again, twice as many black teens compared to white teens said, and I'm quoting, failure to take advantage of available opportunities is a bigger problem than racism, end of quote. 1994, before Obama got elected, let alone reelected. I said, it's crap. And it's getting people killed. How's it getting people killed? Well, it's called the Ferguson effect. Cops pulling back for fear of being accused of engaging in racism. They want to keep their jobs. They want to keep their pensions. And if the so-called activists are speaking for the community, to hell with it. Now, they're not. Polls show that the blacks living in urban America want the police manpower to remain the same as it is, if not be increased. So they're not speaking for the majority of law-abiding, tax-paying, drug-abstaining, hard-working black men and women living in the inner city. I said, it's crap. And it's getting people killed. And again, I reiterated the number one problem facing black America, fathers not in the home. And I reiterated the stat that Obama gave. I said, Obama said this. When you say Obama said this, they have to listen. Kid raised without a father, 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, 20 times more likely to end up in jail. Really? Now, regarding my ability to perhaps allow truck drivers to drive the same speed limit as in other states, I had a tutorial from a man who was the legal counsel to one of the last Republican elected governor, state of California. Sharp man with one of the major law firms in town. And he said, of course, the governor has veto power. And it's been a long time since the left-wing state and assembly has overridden a veto, even though Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was a squish, but he vetoed hundreds of bills. Not a single one was overridden. He also has a line item veto. And perhaps most important, the governor has the ability to declare a state emergency and suspend various laws, rules, and regulations. Now, whenever a governor does that, of course, they go to court, so it'll be held up. But it gives him enormous power. The governor frequently calls a state of emergency regarding these fires, which, by the way, are more dangerous and more frequent because of the failure to thin the forests of dead, fallen trees. You don't find the same phenomenon, as Bill Jones told us, with the farmers that are with the trees on privately owned land. It's the state-owned land that's more of a problem. And I suggested to this lawyer, what if the governor used the power to declare an emergency over education? He said, what? I said, one of the persons I consulted, expert on school choice, said if you fired between the worst 5% and 7% of teachers, education would dramatically improve. Probably 2/3 of the problem have to do with bad teachers that end up in schools where the best teachers are needed. You know, there are 300,000 public school teachers in California. You know how many are fired on an average year? 2.2. 2.2 teachers fired in the average year out of 300,000 public school teachers. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Remember that teacher that fed kids cookies with his semen on it? Took him years to get rid of this guy. Millions of dollars to get rid of this guy. Finally took a buyout and he finally left. You wonder why public school teachers don't have their own school-age kids in school. I'm Larry Elder.
Streaming on Salem Now.
218 out with him. Headed for the house. He's got a hostage.
You believe in God, Chip. Why does a kid die and a drug dealer get off scot-free?
Well, the only answer to that is there isn't a God.
You have a choice. You can either let the darkness overtake you, or you can be a bearer of the light.
So just think of it as calling for backup.
Officer down, officer down. You're the one God's called to be a shepherd.
Keeper, do you know who I am?
You are the author?
I am.
I don't know you.
Keeper, it's your son.
Hurry it up. Time is short.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
What is your message to those who think this isn't a big deal or who feel cowed and intimidated? What do you say to them?
Anytime you say something like what I'm about to say, I'm sure it can be abused and misused, so I'll be very careful in how I say it. I've never read Hitler's Mein Kampf, but I've picked it up recently in the past week because I'm interested in learning everything I can about history. After spending just a day with his Mein Kampf, the spirit and essence of his race hatred that shows up in that book, a set of 2 books, is very similar to what I'm seeing show up in How to Be an Anti-Racist.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
I want to talk about what's happening in New York with Letitia James and what I consider to be a political persecution unlike anything, I think, in American political history. How are you guys dealing with this? And do you guys see this as, you obviously said this last night, but as a continuation of almost this 5-year political witch hunt?
100%. I mean, it's pretty clear when the attorney general of a state, without any information, literally campaigns on saying, "Hey, we're going to investigate, we're going to lock them up, we're going to do this, that, and the other." It's pretty amazing that they can get away with it, and then they do it, and then they do it for 5 years. And the reality is this: there's no recourse. There's no one keeping them in check, Charlie. They can just do this. You have nowhere to appeal it to. You're going to appeal it to a leftist judge in New York who feels the same way. They're utilizing their taxpayer-funded offices in a political vendetta to try to damage my father. And the reality is this: even after 5 years, in search of a crime, right? They've been looking for 5 years. They're getting closer, Charlie. We've been hearing this now literally for half a decade, and yet there's still nothing there. And yet, no one's stopping them. So as crime rates go through the roof in New York, as murder rates go through the roof, as businesses are going out of business because of New York's disastrous recovery response, they're spending taxpayer dollars on a political witch hunt against Donald Trump rather than, murderers. This is what's going on in America. They're outraged when this stuff happens in, Belarus recently, right?
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Larry, this is Bill Worden from Texas, and I got to admit, I love your show. Please run for governor. Turn California from Democrat to Republican, and keep all them people from moving to Texas. Thanks again, Larry. Love you.
Larry, if you run for governor, you have my vote. 100% certain of that. You are one of the greatest, smartest truth tellers out there. And I know if anybody can save this state, California, you can. Run, Larry, run.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. If I decide to run, one of the reasons will be because of this attack on America as being systemically racist that the Democrats are doing, because they know they're losing. I've told you about these numbers before. 4, 6, 8, 12. 4 is the percentage of the black vote Republicans got in 2008 when Obama ran as the first black president, or to become the first black president. 6% is the percentage of the black vote that the Republican Party got at the presidential level when Obama ran for re-election, presiding over the worst economic recovery since 1949. 8% is what Trump got in 2016 when he said, "What do you have to lose?" And then 12%, a 50% increase of what Trump got in 2020 when he delivered the best economy for blacks in the history of this country, when he pardoned Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion, when he pardoned Alice Johnson, the black woman who had a very long sentence for a serious but nonviolent drug offense, when he put more money into so-called opportunity zones so that people could start businesses with less taxes and less regulations in so-called distressed areas. He signed the Music Modernization Act so that artists, many of whom are black, would now get paid for digital downloads. Even though Obama was pressed for that, he didn't do it. Obama was pressed to pardon Jack Johnson, he didn't do it. And Donald Trump gave a full-throated endorsement for school choice. I know that because I was in Cleveland when he was campaigning in 2016, and he talked about it. And believe me, these churchgoers wanted it. If the man is a racist, he needs to go back to racism school. Now, what are they doing in education here in California? Where, as I mentioned, half the kids cannot read at state levels of proficiency, where 75% of black kids can't. They're teaching them self-esteem. They want to impose critical race theory. They want to talk about reparations. They want to talk about how white kids are oppressors and black kids are victims. It's an absolute outrage. This gentleman said Democrats have a huge demand for racist, but there's a problem. The supply is small.
I've said this for years. There's a supply and demand problem these people have. They have a huge demand for racists, and thank goodness in America there's a very small supply of them. So the critical race theory hucksters and others need to present the whole of American society, and indeed most people within it, as actually racists. Whether they know it or not, everybody's a racist. And this is a very, very dishonest claim to make about the American public. I think most of us know from our own experience it is way off kilter. It's way, way away from the truth. But here's the thing they've done next, which is to pretend, having set up this horrible, divisive system, to pretend that they haven't been doing it. There's something very strange going on this week as last week. The people who've been setting up this divisive critical race theory games and been embedding it in American colleges and schools are now pretending that they haven't been doing it, or that it isn't what people think it is. Or here's another one. I saw somebody on one of the other networks saying this week. Or actually, it's such a complex system, us normal rubes aren't capable of understanding it, and so when parents complain about it, they don't really know what they're talking about, because you've got to have a PhD in dance theory to really know what you're talking about in this.
His name is Douglas Murray. He is a British author and political commentator and has written columns for the National Review, Wall Street Journal. He's been described as a dastardly conservative. Chris Rufo, also another conservative.
Yeah, this is really one of critical race theory's core tenets, this idea of whiteness. It's an almost metaphysical category that is inherent in you, and the critical race theorists tell us that whiteness is inherently oppressive, racist, white supremacist. And this book is really outrageous. They depict whiteness as the devil, luring children into a sense of racial identity.
888-971-SAGE. I'm going to have an announcement to make at 5:45 p.m. I'm Larry Elder.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
When did you wake up and say, hang on, this is not good?
Well, like I said earlier, I've been in for over 15 years. The first 14 years of my career, I was in the Air Force, was in the flying community, and then came into the Space Force. Every unit that I've ever been in, all of my professional interactions with people during the preponderance of my career have been highly professional, not politicized. We focus on a mission that unifies us. We wear the same uniform and we go out and do our job every day. And when I noticed personally these things really rapidly beginning to change was in the past calendar year, but specifically in the aftermath of George Floyd's death. What you saw in broader society in the form of social justice activism pouring into the streets, the disruption of civil liberties, for example, and the dialogue, if you want to call it that ensued in the aftermath is the very thing that I saw just spill over into active duty military units. Now, I'll be clear that every unit is different, every leader is different, every base is different. But that's when I was really keen on seeing this happen. Now, I've been in academia for the past 2 years. And so what I'm able to share is simply one man's perception of when this is. I left academia in June of last year and came out to my current base and have had these experiences. But it's my sense that the seeds are planted long ago. This is a subversive agenda.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Fiance? No, I can't be your fiance.
You're gonna go. You're gonna be my fiance, and you're gonna be the most amazing, fascinating, most successful man ever. We're only gonna be there for a few hours, eat dinner, and I promise we'll have the best breakup of all time.
My baby, my princess. Oh, yeah.
stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Charlie Kirk Show.
And this is the destruction of a fair and independent judiciary. And this is using ultimate power to try to destroy political opponents.
100%, Charlie. And it's not like this is the only example. I mean, listen, if you've been watching for the last 5 years, look at the FBI. Look at what they were doing. Nothing happens. They can lie before Congress. They can go and do a witch hunt. They can all know that it's BS. They can all get on TV and act as political pundits and talk about things in a way that they know to not be correct. You saw that, right? They testified before Congress. No, there was nothing there. But on TV every night, they pretended as though Russia was a real thing.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Joe Biden was sold as a moderate. People that had worked with Joe Biden back in the day said, "Oh, I've known Joe for years. He's okay. He's fine."
Listen, when he got the hair plugs.
Hi, Larry. This is Randy from Rancho Cucamonga. I think it would be great if you ran for governor. If you do, you should get those flags made that they put on the cars, like the Dodgers and the Lakers when they're in the championship, because you are the champion, the great Eldurski. We have a country to save, so I hope you do it.
Larry, I'm with you 100%. Ed from Garden Grove, we need a governor that excites us. Not a Terminator, but one with a brain. One with experience, one that talks to all people, one that can represent us all and stand for great value, conservative great value, one that doesn't compromise but takes on the fight for the people and for this country. God bless, Larry. I can't wait.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. I have an announcement to make. Months ago, I was approached to run for governor by Dennis Prager because people ask him to ask me. They know how much I respect Dennis and how influential Dennis has been in my life and my career. And I said, Dennis, thank you for that, but hell no. And I said, I think this state is ungovernable. The Democrats enjoy supermajorities in the Senate, supermajorities in the Assembly. So Republicans even need not show up for work, and they can do whatever damn thing they want. And they have. And Dennis said, I agree with that. I got you. But then more people and more people and more people that I respect, including people like Pastor Jack Hibbs of the Calvary Church in Costa Mesa, Lionel Chetwin, the film writer and producer, the one who got nominated for Best Original Adapted Screenplay. Known him for years. Individually, they came to me and said, you've got to do this. And the more I thought about it, and the more egregious Gavin Newsom's behavior was, the man goes to the French Laundry, that expensive, pricey, shishi restaurant, not just the most expensive, one of the most expensive restaurants in California, one of the most expensive restaurants in the nation, and sits there with the very people that drafted the coronavirus mandates and proceeded to violate them as they sat there, not wearing masks, not engaging in social distancing. It's an outrage. Meanwhile, his own kids continue to enjoy their private in-school education. His own winery was exempted from the coronavirus mandates that shut down so many small businesses. We still have no idea how many bankruptcies there are because the bankruptcy courts are just now opening up. I know that 2/3 of jobs have been restored in other states outside of California on average. In California, it's just half. I've never run for public office before. Let me scratch that. I did run for 5th grade class president against William Moy. I carried 3 out of 4 rows. It was a slaughter. It was a landslide. I don't remember what my agenda was. All I know is I won. Didn't spend a lot of money either. I told you that my dad came out here in 1945 after the war, worked 2 full-time jobs as a janitor, managed to have a stay-at-home wife, my mom, who raised 3 boys, and she did not go to work outside the home until my brother Dennis was in middle school. He did that on a janitor's salary. 2 jobs to be sure, but still a janitor's salary. That is impossible today. The house that he bought is now worth $600,000. And that's because of the high cost of living in California, largely because of the anti-growth, anti-building narrative that has been pushed down the throats by these environmental extremists. Put a house on the market now, you're going to have 10, 15, 20 people bidding for the house. It's ridiculous. Wonderful if you're the owner of the house. Horrible if you're trying to get that starter house if you're a young family. That's why so many young people are leaving. And for the first time last year, California had an out-migration of people. Company after company leaving. At one time, this state was headquartered for all the top oil and gas companies. Well, oil and gas is a 4-letter word here in California. Now, I made very good grades when I was in my public school, Crenshaw High School. And I thought I was a world beater. I thought I was a genius. Until I was bused for 1 semester to a really good public school called Fairfax High. And I realized these teachers were demanding more. They had demanded more ever since these kids were in kindergarten. And they were light years ahead of the average kid in Crenshaw. They were light years ahead of me. For the first time in my life, I got a D. Finally raised it to a B by the end of the semester. But I struggled and struggled and struggled. And the very first day I was there, I came home and I was crying. I told my mom I felt I had been ripped off. I felt I could have been as good as these kids if I had had the same level of education, same level of demand. And she said, I'm sure you could have, and I'm sure you would have. But Larry, your father and I did not have the money to put you in a better school. And my mom started crying. And she said, maybe someday, Larry, you can grow up and do something about it. Well, that someday is here. We have rising crime, ridiculous laws that allow a person to steal up to $950 a day without being a felon, without fearing going to jail. We have an attack on the police, causing the police to pull back. We have incredible homelessness here in California. It is estimated that maybe 1/4 of all the homeless population in America is here in California. And why not? We're not dealing with the underlying problem. We're throwing money after money after money, building homes, and attracting other people who get free homes without dealing with the underlying problem. Some of these people are schizophrenic, who are a danger to themselves and others. They need to be literally picked off the streets and held. Others need to be treated. And then when they are treated and become self-sufficient, where are they going to go? We have no cheap apartments, no low-cost housing, all because of these environmental regulations that discourage builders and developers from supplying more homes. And maybe, just maybe, I can do something about that. So I am hereby announcing that I am running for governor of California in this recall election to be held on September 14. And if you want to help, please go to my website, electelder.com. That's electelder.com. I cannot do it without a great deal of money because my opponent, Gavin Newsom, has no spending limits. I do. He doesn't. The top maximum individual contribution is $34,200. I doubt that very many people have that. I know I don't. But collectively, $25 here, $50 here, $100 here, $500 here, we might be able to put together a decent war chest. So with the advertising and with appearances up and down the state on television and radio, maybe, just maybe, we can scare this guy. And maybe, just maybe, we can remove this guy and I could be the person to succeed him. But the target is Gavin Newsom. Unless he's recalled, the rest of it doesn't matter. 50% plus 1 vote must recall him, and then the person that gets the highest number of votes to replace him becomes governor, and I hope that's me. Now, the doctors who formulated Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, each of which are 100% drug-free, to deal with pain from a separate metabolic pathway. If you're struggling with back, neck, shoulder, hip, knee pain, from exercise or perhaps just dealing with lefties, I suggest you order the 3-week quick start, still discounted to $19.95. That's less than $1 a day to see if we can get you out of pain. After that, less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day for you to stay out of pain. Over 70% of those who order the 3-week quick start go on to order more. Just go to relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com, or call 800-500-8384, 800-500-8384.
Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
And so, Don, a question I get a lot, and where people are emailing us, freedom@charliekirk.com right now, is how is your family holding up in the midst of this? How is your father holding up? I mean, after delivering results for our country, doing everything he said he was going to do, people kind of take me aside. They say, hey, how are they hanging in there? Any insight you can give us, Don, into that?
Yeah, listen, we're doing well, maybe because we're a bit masochistic. We sort of like to be in the fight, and more importantly, because the fight is worth it. I mean, you brought up, opening this thing, my book, Liberal Privilege, like it's literally about all of these things, whether it's the sort of faulty persecutions, whether it's the ongoing aspects of this. I mean, look at what's going on, even, take January 6th, okay? And say what you want about it. Like, if you commit a crime, you should commit a crime, but the FBI and the highest levels of law enforcement, anyone who is, if you are within about 2,000 miles of Washington, D.C., and you're a conservative, it's like the FBI is putting out, have you seen this man? He was seen somewhere within 1,500 miles of D.C. that day. Let's find him. But 13, 14 months of looting, of arson, burning our cities down, taking over buildings. Charlie, I've been told that that's insurrection. I've been told that's insurrection, and yet there doesn't seem to be any interest in looking into that insurrection. It's total pass. And this is how disgusting it's been. And that's my point. I guess we have to stay in the fight. We have to be engaged. You and I both understand how much of a disadvantage you are in if you're a conservative. You understand you get no help from the mainstream media. You get no help from print media. You get no help from social media. Frankly, they're working actively against us.
Triple 8-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Again, if you want to help out in this election, please go to electelder.com. That's electelder.com. I'm going to need a lot of money. The maximum contribution is $34,200. I don't expect very many people to be able to contribute that. I know I couldn't. But if we can add up the 50s and 25s and 100s and 150 and 200 and 500, we might be able to mount a successful attack against this man, because he does not have campaign finance limitations that I do. And they're going to try to turn this race into a race between Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump's white racist, white nationalist supporters. Now, I may be a number of things, but do I look like a white nationalist to you? But that's what these guys do. That's what these guys do. Everything is racist. Everything is racism. Dividing Americans, all for power, all for votes. Now, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. I'm going to be taking a huge financial hit, but I'm ready, willing, and able to do it. So many people have told me that they believe that I've earned the respect and the trust in my 30 years in broadcasting. I hope I've done so. I've written columns. I've written books. I've done a film that I believe if much of the country saw it, we could stop this systemic racism, need for reparations nonsense. And I'm hoping that the work I've done will inspire you to go to that website, electelder.com, and make a contribution. And please, please, please tell your friends. And why should you, if you're outside of California, give a damn? Well, in Washington, D.C., we have a government that's controlled by Democrats at the presidential level, the Senate, and the House, and you see what's happening. Well, in California, it's been going on even longer. And so goes California, so goes the rest of the country. So if you're concerned about things like rising crime, about homelessness, about the outrageous cost of living here in California, then maybe, just maybe, we might be able to do something about it. This man has been arrogant. He hasn't abided by the very coronavirus mandates that he jammed down the throats of businesses, of churches. He ignored them, kept his own winery open, kept his own kids in their expensive private in-school education. It is time for this man to go. Electelder.com, electelder.com. Give what you can. I'm going to need your help. I love you.